And we begin the second panel now. And this panel is focusing on IT services sector as the focus area for discussion from the recruitment perspective. For this panel, we have very eminent speakers, and the moderator for the panel is Professor Ravi Shankar. Whatever you say about him being an avid researcher will be less. There will be very, very few words which can actually explain the kind of research and publication work that he has done. He is the Amar Gupta Chair Professor of Decision Science, Professor of Operations and Supply Chain Management in Department of Management Studies at IIT Delhi. He is a fellow of the prestigious Indian National Academy of Engineers. His research citations exceed 13,430 with an age index of 59. His research areas include decision science, business analytics, big data, operations, supply chain management, project management, total quality management, Six Sigma, sustainable freight transportation, strategic technology management, etc. Besides having a highly productive academic career at IIT Delhi for the past 18 years and highest achievable academic grade, HAG, in the Indian academic systems, he has also undertaken teaching at School of Management, Asian Institute of Technology, Thailand, French Vietnamese Center for Management Education, and Hanoi, Vietnam, etc. Research-driven association with Aston Business School, Birmingham, UK, School of Business and Economics, University of UK, Business School, Sheffield University, UK, and a series of universities outside India. He's an outstanding researcher, and on 11th July 2016, he was awarded the most influential researcher in the area of operations management in India on the occasion of the 3rd International Conference on Green Supply Chain Management, which was organized as Loughborough University at its London campus. In the year 2016, a research paper on research productivity in management schools of India during 1968 to 2015 was published in Omega, an international journal of management science. And this journal ranked Professor Ravi Shankar as top most productive researcher in business schools in India by virtue of the number of his publications and citations. He has received PIMG Management Excellence Award for his eminence in management education, research, consultancy, training, administration, etc. He has been on the board of a large number of companies. He has also been on the editorial board of a large number of international journals, and his papers have been published in more than 20 journals. His key book on supply chain management is the prescribed and the most well-read book on supply chain management in India. It's an honor and a privilege to have Professor Ravi Shankar amidst us. We request you to kindly have your chair on the dais, please, sir. The first panelist after the moderator is Mr. Ish Thukral, Director Worldwide Customer Success Retention at Oracle. Oracle has been hiring right from the founding year from this business school. So we really want to thank the company for trusting in our philosophy and vision and hiring students from us even when we did not have a background. He's been the Director Worldwide Customer Success and Retention since June 2018, Director and Head of Sales Asia Pacific and Japan, Senior Vice President Sales at RateGain, again Director Sales at Oracle. So he's spent close to about 2 decades in the IT sector, and he's an alumni of IMT Ghaziabad. It's a matter of privilege and honor to have you amidst us, sir. Please request you to occupy your seat. We also have Mr. K. Sriram, Senior Manager, People Strategies, Sapient, an accomplished HR professional with 17 plus years of experience in global IT organizations, currently working with Sapient Consulting as a Senior Manager, People Strategy. In his role, he partners with business leaders to strategize people-related initiatives and help business outcomes. He's a certified executive coach who is passionate about developing people. He has rich experience of multiple domains such as talent management, leadership management, business roles, and technology. He's an avid storyteller, so we are looking forward to hearing him, who churns out some simple stories to inspire. He has been recently recognized as one of the top 100 under 30 HR leaders in the country by Jombe, which is a new age assessment company. Some of the leading companies that he has worked with in the past are Arison, Genpact, and IBM. He is also an alumnus of IMT Ghaziabad and has a lot of work-related certifications in OD, psychometric assessments, project management assessments, etc. It's an honor to have you amidst us, and we request you to kindly occupy your seat on the dais, please. We also have Mr. Vikas Dua, Senior Group Leader HR Concentrix with us, a postgraduate in business management and a graduate from Institute of Hotel Management. He brings with him 18 years of rich and diverse experience across industries of hospitality, education, and ITES. Extensive exposure over the years of varied dimensions of talent acquisition, volume hiring, campus recruitment, lateral hiring, training, etc. He has also been working with talent acquisition analytics and new hire onboarding. He's a well-renowned, rounded TA specialist who has seen recruitment landscape very closely. Earlier with Wipro, he is currently leading the recruitment for the North Zone at Concentrix, one of the global leaders in the BPM space. With his vast experience, I'm sure he has a lot to add to the discussion. We welcome you on the dais, please. As is the norm for our institution, on behalf of the entire institution, I request our faculty member, Professor Gaurav Sareen, to extend a warm welcome to the panelists with a bouquet of flowers. Thank you, Professor Gaurav. And with eminent people now on the panel, and with a very, very renowned academician to lead, I now hand over to the moderator, Professor Ravi Shankar, to kindly take on.
Good afternoon to everybody, and I have the pleasure of moderating this session. And we are fortunate that we have three very eminent speakers with us, and basically we will be focusing on the IT skills and some of the related things. But before I invite them, I would like to speak a few words, because if a professor comes, he will speak something. He can, even if I'm moderating, but I would like to speak a few words and try to set the tone for the other speakers, and later I will try to summarize. Basically, what we expect, besides everything that my speakers would be sharing, that based on their experience, if they can enlighten on the skill sets needed from the students and other people who are seeking jobs, that will be a great help. So, if possible, you throw some light on that. So this is more like a request. Now, let me share some of my views on what need to be done, especially for the students. I have a few words of advice. First of all, whenever you are studying in any business school or you are aiming for a job, one of the things that you should really try to do, that you should always be in a lookout that is there an opportunity that I can add something in my CV. All CVs looks almost same when it goes to persons who have come for campus interview or you have applied. Because all your friends have done almost similar courses, and almost same set of skills. So I have few suggestions. And these suggestions are very valuable, especially for those who are very serious in their effort. See, what I advise to you, that you have to really understand that which area you want to go after you have completed the program. Say, for example, you want to go in IT area. Just for example, this is, and which sector you are more interested. So these two things should be there at the back of your mind. Maybe one or two sectors you should focus on. After taking a stand on that I want to go in retail or IT or whatever, what students should do, that you should try to pick up opportunities throughout your program, maybe 2 years or whatever. In every course, that can I extract something which can build up my CV? And I give you a few examples. In many courses, you will get some term projects. So can I, even a marketing course, if you are there and you have a term project, can I do something? The term project topic could be something which can still be relevant for the area where I am looking for an employment. You have to build up your CV. No, I mean, that's your job. And once you do that and you create a portfolio that, okay, these are the 20 small projects I have done or 10 small projects I have done, and all are focusing, say, for example, IT and ITS sector where I'm looking for a job, your CV will certainly look different. At least it would be better than others who are appearing in the same campus interview or maybe appearing for maybe any outside interview. This is one advice. So try to remain focused in your life. And also, in every course, there is something that you can still derive and you can capitalize on that at the time of recruitment. So you have to plan quite early in your studies. That's point number one. Point number two would be that you should be very much updated with the latest happening in your area, even if it is not there in the course. So some merger is taking place in your sector, something happening. You should be aware of the business environment in your area, and even if it is not taught, you should be prepared. This is the second advice that I can give you. Third advice, it's easy to advise, difficult to practice. But third advice would be that always look for opportunity beyond your institute. And I give you 2-3 examples. Say, for example, you want to go in IT area. There are a number of courses which are offered and it's not very cost intensive. Say, for example, there are MIT online courses. It's not difficult, I can tell you. Looks MIT, big thing. But try to enroll in that course and you will find that easier than the courses that you are doing in Delhi School of Business to clear those courses. And there are many courses being offered. Say, for example, on business analytics, there are courses. A number of courses are there. Predictive analytics, there are courses. And I have a strong reason to suggest to you that some of the students who have followed my advice, they have always vouched that, sir, the course which I have done from MIT online or anywhere, it's far easier than what you teach and how you test in our classroom. So this is the third advice, that look for opportunities. And there are a number of such opportunities. And MIT and other places are brand in itself, and that will really make your CV look very different. This is the third advice. Fourth, in India also there are few skill sets that you can really acquire with little bit of effort and little bit of investment. For example, in IT, I'm focusing on IT right now. You can pick up PMI course, project management course, and it's maybe 20,000-25,000 or something like that, and you can get certified in that, and that will really improve the value of a CV tremendously. So if there is an opportunity, I'm very keen and exert little extra, now you can really you can do that. And project management, other courses are generally offered in our business schools. That would be helpful. Maybe you can do in tandem with those courses or maybe later. So it shouldn't be very difficult. This is the next advice that I have. And based on my experience in the IT and ITS area, let me tell you what is very appealing to me right now. See, IT and ITS area is very fast changing as far as the industry requirements are concerned. Maybe sometime e-governance come into picture, sometime e-commerce came into picture. And very soon, it has a fading effect as far as employability is concerned. So you should be very agile and quick to adapt. For example, what I have seen recently, and I share my experience, I picked up an area called supply chain management, maybe about 20 years back when it was very new in our country. There were not many people in this area in our country. And they were, so I collaborated with some of the US professor and authored book, tried to learn myself. There is no class that I attended, but I developed myself and I lived very happily for many years. Then I realized there are many experts in this area and I have to re-skill myself. You know what did I do? I picked up an area where I saw the life cycle for another 10, 15 years or 20 years. And maybe 5 years back, I picked up the area which is more IT oriented and called as business analytics. And the business analytics is one where there are some tools, some skill sets needed, like for example, R language, SAS and other things. And once I had some command on that, I tried to pick up the peripheral areas like statistics and other things which are helpful in that. And that's an area which I picked up. And I strongly believe till I retire in next 10 years, I don't have to do much. I will be relevant, still be relevant in the academics or for the industry. So what is needed? One skill set has a life cycle. You have to retool yourself, you have to reorganize yourself, you have to visualize what is going to happen in future. And if you do that, your life will be easy. Never stick to only one area and think that it will sail you through for all the time. So business analytics is one in IT and ITS area, which I still believe has a life cycle which is quite long and one can take up. So maybe these 5, 6 small piece of advice that I had, I have offered to you. I strongly believe the panelists, especially I know some of them through my own contacts. Mr. Ish, who is from Oracle, Mr. Sriram from Sapient, and Vikas from Concentrix. They all are very renowned people, very experienced one, much more knowledgeable as far as industry practices and industry requirements are concerned. And I'm sure they will give you a lot of tips and hints what you should do and how you should steer through in your life. So thank you very much. And with this small background, and you have to excuse me if I have spoken anything which is not very relevant, but you can connect. Okay. So and future trends, etc. You can always talk. So I think you have a presentation to make. So may I request, should we start with Ish? You are. I don't have a presentation. So who can? So maybe we can start with you.
So sorry about that. So so invited to speak on this topic of recruitment perspective for B school graduates. I think what I've always liked to do in life is look back at the past, because it gives us lessons that help us prepare better for the future, and that's what I'm going to try and do. So what has been changing around us in this nation, really, if you look at it for the last so many years, right? That's the journey that we need to really understand. This was the times of the past. Do anyone of you remember or recall this iconic scene from this very iconic movie? Raise a show of hands. Anyone recognize which movie this is from? It was before most of the students, at least in this room, were born. It was this movie called Diwar, which gave us this very famous dialogue. Do you remember the dialogue? Can I hear it? Exactly. So at least you guys watch movies, that's good. And so this movie really set in 1975, the early 70s, showed India in a state of socio-political turmoil. There were no jobs to go around. The protagonist here, Ravi, played by Shashi Kapoor, actually had to show a gun to the hiring manager. I hope you guys don't do that. Yeah. So those are the times really, and then you have today. Remember this scene? So anyone who hasn't seen this scene, I can excuse you, please go out, watch the movie. It's far more important than what we are doing today. Three Idiots, an iconic movie again, showed us how India's moved. Companies like ours coming to campus, kids like you sitting suited, booted, in saris, some of you, sitting for interviews all through the night. We've gone through that as well. And then you realize that at the end of the journey, at the end of all those, crazy rounds, GDs, tests, PIs, you call up your parents, you call up your brother, you check, should I take this offer, is it good enough? And then you walk away with an offer. What a change, isn't it? That's what life has come to. Amazing. You get literally an offer on campus and you walk out knowing which company you're going to join, which date. And for the majority of us, that's worked well. But what lies ahead? I think that's what we're here to talk about, right, as a group. And that's where really the slide is blank right now. I don't have anything to show here right now because I think we'll construct that together using again a bit of history. Okay? So look at this on the screen. I don't know if you've followed this in any one of your subjects, but this is where the journey has been moving, or the revolutions have been happening, and we are at a very, very critical stage right now. The Industrial Revolution 4.0, or the fourth Industrial Revolution. Clearly, I think no one in this room, even our faculty, can even imagine what we are going to go through. The first Industrial Revolution, early 19th century, mechanization happened. So you had the farming and the farmer community all disturbed internationally. They actually destroyed machines because they were going to take away the jobs. Then you move ahead a little down towards the late 19th century, and you had a higher level of mechanization. Assembly lines started, faster productivity. This led to more unemployment. This led to rise of capital markets. It led to trade unions and a whole lot of other, economic and political changes in society. Then came the computer, the great computer that we can't live without today. But guess what? That is also passé now. This is our computer. We can live without this, but we can't live without this. You agree with me? Yeah. So that's what it is. This is my wallet. This is my, air conditioner switching on device. It's my call my driver. It's my pay my school kids fee. It's everything to me. I lose this and I'm like on an ocean without water. So that's what we've got to prepare ourselves for. What is coming next? The Industrial Revolution 4.0, where everything will happen with this device. Everything will happen with data. And where everything is already happening. How many of you have experienced an Alexa or a Google Home? Look at you, almost half the room. Including, I'm happy to see a lot of our professors. Because an Alexa really is a scary thing. A Google Home is a scary thing. And we'll come to that in a bit. You'll see what's happening. So this is a IT BPM digital landscape. While a lot of data, text on this, which I'll not get into, the next story is that even today, IT BPM is growing at a healthy 4.65% annualized growth rate. And India, again, within that space is growing. But there's a transition happening. It's becoming more digital. It's becoming more, I would say, less individual driven, but more tech driven. And the faster we're able to understand that technology, align ourselves with it, I think we'll be more secure from our own career and long-term career perspective, right? So there's tremendous potential here, and the fact that, India, again, like it says on that slide, has a huge play in this with the kind of workforce that we have, the kind of education background that we have, the kind of exposure you're getting in an institute like DSB. That's going to prepare you for this. So these are some of the comments which leaders have shared with respect to how jobs are going to evolve, or what is the outlook looking for in terms of the careers and jobs in times to come. All of them extremely positive. Tremendous numbers on the screen there. 65% of children who enter the primary school today will take up jobs that don't exist yet. Think about it. Right? Already, I was reading the newspaper the other day, in a restaurant in Japan, they've completely done away with, waiters. A robo is coming and giving your meal on a platter to you. You're anyway placing orders on a tablet, on the table itself. There's a chef in the cabin who prepares it, puts it on a conveyor belt, robo picks it up and gets it to your table. What happens to, the so many staff members that we see in our food outlets, right? Think about things like that. Again, CTS, Center for Future of Work, 21 million jobs will be created over the next 10 to 15 years, triggering a wave of mass employment. Imagine, not unemployment, but employment. So that should give you hope. But what are those jobs? That's where you've got to, feature and figure out. And the third one, which Gartner says, is really that this technology, which I said earlier, is also creating this whole change. So sectors you should look at, technologies you should look at, perspectives you should keep in mind. Again, on the screen, India by 2020 by NASSCOM, almost 70% of our population will be connected to the internet. Local languages will become more and more prevalent in the computing and IT space. Your 75% of the rural areas, the consumers will be from the rural areas. So what will happen today for someone like us? For example, if I have to speak to someone in rural Bengal, for example, and I don't know the language, I need an interpreter. I need someone to help me. Tomorrow you can just talk into the phone. The software will convert the language at the other end, and the person will be able to answer. Does that give you a business idea? Something that you can do with, as a service on top of that technology? Think about it. So language will not be a barrier anymore. You're already seeing that when a Google assistant can call up a restaurant and make a reservation. Did you see that video of Sundar Pichai from the last Google event? If not, I seriously suggest you do. Because your mind, your thinking, your landscape will completely, just expand. And of course, mobile content. Extremely important from a learning angle. This PowerPoint which I'm doing is so old school. I hate myself for doing it, but I still have to go through it right now. Maybe next time one of us comes to your campus, we won't do PowerPoint, we'll do video. And workplaces, how will they evolve? We are already seeing that, and I'm sure my colleagues here on the dais also. The days of the old cubicle, having my own office, telephone, photocopier, printer are all gone. You have open seating, you have literally, you heard in one of the earlier presentations, bean bags. You've got what we call hot desks. You just, block one for yourself for the day, go and work there. The times to come, even that will not be available. Companies like us will encourage you to work from home, work from wherever you want to work from, as long as you deliver productivity, as long as you're able to complete the work that has been assigned to you. Isn't that more exciting? Right? Imagine the kind of time you waste today on the roads and in the traffic, and you juggle through the rush hour metro and so on, and that becomes history. And you are able to deliver better with respect to what your job responsibilities are. Companies are able to benefit out of the better output they get from you. So that is all that's going to happen. And the generation that you're part of, the generation that's going to come, isn't really so kicked about 14-hour work days. They want that work-life balance. They want to be able to work when they want to work for something that's close to their heart, right? It's something that they're passionate about. If it's not interesting to them, it's not going to take their time or life for too long. They think about switching in 3 months. So you'll see them creating new business models on Instagram. You'll see them doing new stuff on Snapchat. They are not going to be sitting and writing emails, like most of you, I'm sure. And a little slide on how jobs are changing. Just a wave that already started. This is from Forbes. These are traditional jobs in, traditional companies. And this is what they are becoming or getting replaced by. So if you look at even a company like ours, which is into, customer care, simple customer care, bots and low-end technology will take care of the basic, customer issues. When am my package going to get delivered? Why is my bill not, still credited? I made the payment 2 days ago. A bot can easily answer that. It can check the underlying data and come back, okay, your bank has already cleared the payment. It will get cleared in 2 days. What will happen is you'll have humans to do the higher end troubleshooting work where someone is really agitated, the bot has not been able to solve the problem. and the package, instead of landing in Greater Kailash, has landed up in Goindpuri. That's when the issue redressal expert will come in, because that person or that human will have more human skills, be more empathetic, be able to take decisions immediately. Okay, sir, I'll throw in a 200 rupee free voucher for your next order. That's just a small example, but that's what jobs are going to change to. So coming back to what lies ahead, now let's try and fill up this slide. This is what lies ahead. The VUCA world, as we call it. It's going to be volatile, uncertain, complex, ambiguous. And we've got to learn how to deal with it. There will be a lot of change, and we'll all be part of what they call a gig economy. A gig economy is where you, like a musician or an artist or a sculpture, you take up small projects for 6 to 9 months. You do something that thrills you, gives you excitement, pays your bills, and you move on to the next. You take a break in the middle, go off to Shimla. You come back and you take up another assignment which thrills you. That's what most of our next, graduates, people coming out of campuses are going to be trying to do. And what companies also will want to be looking at hiring. Because why, as an organization, would I want to have a 10,000 strong workforce if my work for them is really in peaks and troughs, right? Doesn't make business sense, does it? Why would I want a data scientist if I'm only going to have data scientists work for, let's say, the first 3 months of the year? So these kind of, changes will happen in the business landscape, and you guys will have to be prepared for it. So what are our expectations from you, or what do we think, you guys should be ready to do? It's a open, you can say, blank paper right now, but this is what you'll need to keep in mind. Learning will be the number one critical skill. Learning, learning, learning. I was just reading an article which said that universities will move from tenure learning to lifelong learning. So you'll enroll in a DSB for a lifelong program of 40 years. Because every time you need some capsule, you need some change of skill, you'll come back. Because what you learn today will be irrelevant maybe 3 years from now. And that's being optimistic. You'll learn on the go, you'll learn from your mobile devices, you'll learn from Coursera, you'll learn from, your Udemy, you'll learn less from classrooms, you'll learn more from the videos and internet we spoke about. And experiences. Pick up a book called The Catalyst. If one single piece of advice you want to take from my talk today, pick up this book called The Catalyst by Chandramouli Venkatesan. It's a right stage in your career where you should be reading that as to how to chart your career, what you should be actually focusing on now. So pick up those experiences it talks about. Don't look at, like they said in the earlier presentation, a good office or a fancy AC cabin and all that. That's irrelevant. If you can get into Gorakhpur and learn how to sell Coke in Gorakhpur, believe you me, you will be head of sales in a large organization one day. But for that, you'll have to go through the pain of Gorakhpur. So think about it. Partnership. The world is getting more and more connected thanks to social, right? And I don't know how many of you right now are tweeting about this session or HR Conclave, but if you haven't been, I think that is the single most important thing you should be doing currently, because DSB needs to get more into the mindscape of corporates, needs to get positioned and compete with the best of the business schools, and each one of you are brand ambassadors. It's not the job only of the faculty. So how will you collaborate? How will you use social to do that? Start doing it now, it will help in your placements. Innovation and creativity. This is where we will outshine the bots, we will outshine the robots, right? So this is where they can do the basic, repetitive, non-cognitive work. But when it comes to thinking, creative ability, this is where we still have an edge. And I'm using the word still. We don't know how long it will last. Maybe they start doing that. But if you can think innovative, creatively, do it now. Write a song, direct a movie, do something which a bot can't do right now, and that you'll be the safest in time to come. That's all from my end. That's my Twitter handle. You can follow me, and make sure you make this HR Conclave a huge, resounding, success on the internet. All the best to you guys. Thanks.
I think, thank you everyone, and I am sure it's after lunch, so I'll try and keep it as brief, and I'm honored to get introduced by her, and my age got reduced by at least 8 years, so she did say, I'm 30-year-old, I may look like one because I play sport, and maybe that's my passion, and that's what drives work, right? As far as what we need to talk here, I think Vikas and Professor have already done most of the talking, so I'll try and keep it brief, and maybe it's an opportunity for us to engage and for you to ask questions, right? And I'll just bring a flavor of what Vikas spoke about, maybe in a little different fashion. So this is my life of the future. You know, imagine all of you, maybe in a couple of years and maybe much earlier, owning a equipment like this. It's not a car, right? It may look like a car but for mobility, but in the future, this may become much more than what you could even imagine, right? In the current context, right, you can simply think how cool it would be to have a car which, you know, drives you around. You go to watch a movie, and in India we have a problem of parking, right? We don't get to. So you get down from the car and tell the car to go. The car goes. Okay, you watch a movie, have dinner and all, and you simply pick up your phone, say, hey car, come back, pick me up. And the car comes, pick you up, you sit and you go. So you don't need a driver, you don't need parking space, the car is just managing by itself. You know, take it up a notch further, right? As corporate professionals, you know, we all believe that we are very busy chaps. We don't want to waste time commuting for meetings. But if my car turns out to be my meeting center and it knows about my schedule, at a point of time, I'm driving my car, I'm able to join a video conference from my car while the car takes me to a destination wherever I need to. I'm not bothered about what's happening, right? I may do all my meetings there, right? That's going to be the future. And as Vikas called it out, that future is being called as the fourth industrial revolution. And I'm not going to talk more about it because you heard enough from Vikas on that topic. But what is essentially happening in the industry, right? The whole business models are getting shifted in terms of how some companies used to operate in the past. If you look at the names there, right? Tesla, Apple, Google, Uber, are any of them car manufacturers? Tesla is trying to be one, right? But traditionally not, and they would become one, but they are mainly focused on something called as a drive train feature. They're training their cars, and they are also creating energy points where everything is going to become electric in the future. So you let your car go, plug it into an electric station, get yourself charged and move on, right? But none of the other companies are. However, in terms of revenue and the way they are going to shape up in the future, you will find many such companies coming in where core business will not be of a car manufacturer or something, but will create a huge dent. Uber is a classic example, right? What Uber has done, Uber doesn't own any car fleet. However, they are enabling commutation services by connecting a provider with a consumer and making that thing happen. So that's what the whole ecosystem is shifting towards. What it is essentially doing, it is essentially breaking the deadlock of infrastructure and money power and a biggie coming and create a large transformational change. In the current revolution, even a small player can make a big dent. And maybe if you do your research, the companies which were in the top 10, Fortune top 10, not even 500, forget, right? Go and have a research, you'll find all the companies which were there maybe 10 years back are no more there. It's all new age companies which are making a big difference, right? So in that context, maybe let's look at what is actually changing, right? Here are some examples, right? Uber doesn't own any taxis anymore. Airbnb, here you know a company called Oyo Rooms, right? Airbnb is someone who brought in this change in the industry. Without owning any real estate infrastructure, they are able to offer a hoteling service, maybe make my trips on and so forth, right? So that's essentially what is changing. Netflix, how many of you heard about Netflix? You know what was Netflix core business? Renting videos, right? Their job was to rent videos, do all those stuff. What they do now, they don't own any content anymore. They are just offering a platform where anyone can come and put their content and the whole world is able to see. So the whole system is going through this change, right? If these are the changes which we are foreseeing in the industry, then what is expected from you, which is the fish jumping, right? Which is corporate, right? To the campus, to the corporate, or the other way around. So one of my own learnings, maybe my co-panelists may also agree with me, is companies are no more all about saying that you come with a skill and we'll pay you for that, right? There is shift which is happening where you come and co-create a skill or a capability and you and me earn along. So the individual's relevance in this context goes much higher up because everyone is expected to shift as fast as possible, right? So in that context, what I've done is instead of focusing too much on knowledge, which we can do more on Q&A, but I'm going to quickly run you through some skills, might be repetitive, so let's see how it goes, right? Critical thinking and problem solving. Maybe Vikas called it as innovation, right? But more and more, when you step into those interviews, something which will be expected out of you is for a given situation, how many different possible ways you can come up with a solution and how critically you can analyze a particular situation and come up with outcomes and be able to solve for problems. So maybe that's a critical skill you need to watch out for while using your understanding of the fundamental subject which you have expertise in. Then you look at interpersonal and team skills. This is becoming even more important. We are in a world where singular brilliance is not going to achieve results. I'm a fan of cricket. How many of you watched the last test match? India, England. What happened? How much the captain scored? Forget yesterday. That's the reason I went because yesterday was a disaster. Right, the reason I'm bringing in, even though Virat scored, what happened to the outcome? Right, we lost. Nothing new, but what I'm essentially trying to bring in the perspective is more and more we are seeing in our part of the world is individual brilliance is going to take you only that far. It's about collaboration. A collaboration where hierarchies are getting broken, right? You essentially don't need a VP to drive the business. You as an individual can come up with something brilliant, get a team together, influence few others through your interpersonal skills and generate outcomes. So these small pod teams as an organizational structure are getting built, and those teams are tasked with coming up with something which is transformational. And if you do that, the outcomes were some of the slides which you saw in the last two slides. So that's how companies are operating, and you will find more and more opportunities coming your way. And India have become a hub for startups now, like what used to be the Silicon Valley a few years back. So those are some opportunities you need to look out for. Finally, I think this is where I felt most of us should. Vikas brought it nicely as Twitter, but we all should get aligned yourself building a lot of digital skills. Good news, most of us already use it by virtue of access to a mobile phone, Facebook, WhatsApp, so on and so forth. Use that constructively even more. When you are into interview and campus, you know what is actually make you successful in an environment is your ability to use technology to collaborate, produce outcomes. So that's where I felt digital skills will come out to be pretty handy. If these were the skills, then all put together, what could be the set of abilities which we can look at, right? One is, Vikas brought it as learning. Maybe I'm trying to structure it as more learnability. one of the expectations in the ever-changing world, so-called VUCA, is the ability to continually learn, shift, and demonstrate that behavior. Those who are able to, like I am in an organization where 6 to 8 months back, a technology which was relevant is not relevant anymore, and we are expecting people to shift and keep adding plus plus. Those are the people who are going to thrive. So by mindset, we all need to bring in the element of learnability. Curiosity, right? I'm a fan of this. Someone who asks questions, and I'm hoping that to come in after this session. I felt are people who are actually generating far more impactful outcomes, because what is important in the current ambiguous world is also to bring clarity in our own minds, and that comes when you are inquisitive and curious enough to ask questions, curious enough to challenge assumptions, curious enough to come up with varied responses to a given situation. So curiosity becomes a critical skill in the current context. Then the next one is adaptability, right? The picture tells for yourself. What a chameleon does is, of course, it's a defense mechanism, but it's also important in today's context that as you go through changes, for example, we all live by quarter, and maybe in the future live by a week, basis the way we generate revenue or growth for the organization. And the strategies, earlier, we used to say 5-year strategy, 10-year strategy to arrive where it is. Now those have come down drastically to maybe a quarter, right? And if I need to do that, then I need to be able to adapt to newer demands which come my way. And as freshers, you will notice the impact you have on that is your job roles may shift. How quick and agile you are to be able to move into those, which is my next one, being nimble, right? I had a classic example. I had a background in technology. Over a period of time, I realized, right, HR had my calling, but I went into HR through a technology route, training people on technology, and then took on a role of learning and to move and do business management, right? What I related to nimbleness in that construct is that journey took me maybe 17 years. Okay, today if you were to do that, the expectation is you do it in maybe quarter of the time or even less. That's another significant shift which is happening. Even your roles are going to change. Today you are following a process, tomorrow you'll be asked to do something else. How do you quickly shift and iteratively move is something which needs to be looked into, right? And finally, the most important attribute which not now, always existed and anyone would look forward to is, enthusiasm. Someone who comes with a lot of energy and spreads that energy across is going to be the large winner. So thank you so much. So that's what I wanted to share, and hopefully we should have more questions. Yeah, thank you.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you. Thank you to the faculty team and students spending a Saturday with us. Thank you, Professor Sharma, for nice introduction. I'm going to start from where he left. He spoke about, I don't have a big presentation to do here like my co-panelists, but I'm going to start from where he left. And he spoke about things that you should do, things that you should be building on, what kind of job you want to get into. I've been a sales guy all my life, and I want to tell you one thing. You should know what you don't want to do, for sure. And I learned it in my first job. My first job was software development for 6 months. At the end of 6 months, I had a successful project, but I knew this is not the job I want to do. So I moved into sales, shifted my career. Started with business development and then moved into sales. I've spent 11 years with my current company, and I've been in various roles, and I've been involved in campus hiring from 2007. There are a bunch of examples within the current team that tells you why hiring people straight out of college is really key and is really important for us. People who started in, there are two of my colleagues today in the same group. They started in 2006, 2007. They did the very core job. Like in the previous session, somebody was talking about that, first job is the toughest and all of that, right? And today they head their, own regions. And one thing common that we look in such people is not only they never said no to any job. The other thing was they were the ones who went and created, new projects, new areas that we could develop into. Something Sriram touched upon was curiosity. And I keep saying this to everybody that I hire. Keep asking questions, keep asking. You never know what might get approved. A lot of our projects, a lot of our initiatives within the company have been because of such people who've come and they kept pushing the management team, they kept asking those questions, and and eventually we turned them into these large projects, which brought in revenue. I think there were a lot of things shared by Professor, by my co-panelists on advice. One advice that I can give you is, along with the IT skills, along with understanding how how technology works, whether you get into software development or whatever. If you could build one skill, which is learning one additional global language, that will add a lot of value to your resume. I have the privilege of heading a global organization, and we cover almost every geography that you can, that you're aware of, right out of our India office. So every time we go out in the market, we're looking at people who've got the language skill set, and they have the, sales acumen. And it's very, very tough to find those guys. The reason why we do it out of India is because we have a huge advantage of not having, cost advantage, but also having huge productivity advantage. I mean, when we go out in different countries and hire in global hubs, we find people who can, who understand the local culture and language, but they can't really sell. And that's the advantage we have here. We have the language skills, we have the business acumen, the way each one of you have spent, number of years studying what you're studying, it brings in a lot of value to the company. Being a sales guy, again, one thing that I can tell you is, one thing that I look in people, or every time we go out to hire, is how well you can handle rejections. Being in sales, it's all about handling rejections. Out of 100 calls or 100 meetings that you get into, maybe 4 or 5 will turn out to be productive meetings, or where you build a sales pipeline, where you build a opportunity where you can go and sell in the next 6 to 9 months. So getting rejection is just the start. It's not the end. So it's really important to understand that. If at all you want to get into a sales job, probably one of the toughest thing to do. But then if you do it well, you can build a great career out of it. Over the years, we've done various employee engagement surveys, various feedback that comes and goes, and we do a 360-degree feedback sessions with a lot of sales reps, one-on-one or through a system or whatever. Talking about workplace, there was one question that in the management team we would also always have, whether we do a quarterly survey or otherwise, is, do you have a best friend at work? And most of the people who had answers as yes, they are the ones who were really engaged with the company, and something Sriram spoke about on what kind of workplace you want to build, what kind of people you want to hire. I think he also spoke about team collaboration and all that. For me personally, it comes down to that one question. Last 11 years in 2 different stints in this company with Oracle, I've always had a best friend at work. Somebody I could go out to, knowingly or unknowingly became my coach, and that's what you want to find out. That's what, that's how you want to build sort of professional relationships with people in various teams in various areas. Rest I can talk about, what we expect from you when we're hiring from campus. It could be business acumen, it could be confidence, the right attitude to do the job. But most importantly, do you really want to do this job? Ask yourself that question when you get into the interview meeting. I guess that's about it. I just wanted to throw in some of the things that I've learned over the years from my experience. I hope that will help. I'm on LinkedIn with with Ish Tukral, my first and last name. If you want to connect, send me a one-on-one question. I promise to you, I will definitely respond. It might take a while, but I will respond if you have any questions. Okay? Thank you.
Should I go there? Hello? Yes. So thank you very much. And we have to manage time also, because I can see that we have exceeded our time a little bit. But can we take maybe 10 more minutes for some question answer? Is it okay? So it's a good idea to throw questions to the very eminent speakers and panelists here. And from the participant side, if you have any question, you are most welcome. Any one of you? Any question? Yes. And I will request you to tell your name and to which panelist you want to ask this question. Sorry. Opa, okay. Please go ahead.
Hello, sir. My name is Karthik Gulati. And, sir, as there are a lot of cyber threats outside, people are intervening into the security, and somewhere, like the recent threats were a ransomware virus, and few of people also tried to mislead and misuse the Aadhaar data. So, what do we also need to improve our skill set and upgrade ourselves before getting into the industries, or are we okay with what we have learned?
Yeah, I mean, skill set wise, I don't know. If you want to get into the security side of the business, then obviously you need the skill set to do the job. As far as security threats are concerned, there are companies worldwide that are working on fixing those bugs and those, those issues which would, which can avoid those threats. But that's, I mean, the issue exists, everybody knows, and there are CIOs worldwide who've lost their jobs because of, such events. As far as your skill set is concerned, again, I'm going to point back on what I said earlier. Find out what is it that you want to do. If you want to be on security side of things, build on a product which helps for your data center or a cloud environment to be more secure. Then yeah, focus on that skill set.
Okay. Any other question? Any other question? Okay. So if there are no questions, anybody else? Perfect. So I have a job to summarize and conclude. And as I try to do in my classroom, I always try to throw some Guru Mantras in my class, which you can remember. You can forget the whole lecture, but at least some Guru Mantra you can carry. So based on whatever was presented and discussed, I have a key word for you, and if you remember that, possibly that would be useful. And the key word is lab, say, job. And I will explain what I mean by lab and what say and job. Lab stands for, whenever you go for a job and you are preparing for an interview, what people are looking in your CV or in your presentation are these. For example, can you learn? What you have learned is important, but can you still learn something? So the lab, the L stands for can you learn, that learn. Then what is A? A, what's your attitude? Very important. So the A of the lab is your attitude. Do you have an attitude to work in the environment in which you are going or you have applied for? This is second. And B stands for what you can bring to the system to which you have applied. So what you are going to bring. So the lab stands for, one is the learning, are you a learner? A, do you have the right attitude, and B, what you can bring. Then, when I say that lab say job, so SE stands for can you stay in that job, or it's only a temporary platform that you are looking for. So this is again important that whenever you apply, ensure and try to impress that you are going to stay there, you are going to contribute, and you have a long-term aim to stay in that organization. And you have to really try to prove that. Then E stands for your experience. And when I was talking to you, I said that what experience you are bringing. Many of you are freshers, you do not have a job experience, but that does not mean that you don't have, you can't acquire that, you can't do that in your studies also. For example, what I said, that in every course, when you are doing a term project or whatever you are doing, try to make some projects related to the job or the area in which you are aiming for. And also, look for opportunities where you have some experience through the internship or something like that. So this is A. And then job. Job stands for three important things. And the speakers talked about the soft skills also. So J stands for you should be jovial. Don't be very serious. You should be jovial. Nobody likes sad faces and tense faces tense face in any organization. They want jovial people. Am I right? O for organized. Are you organized? Many of the students that we really interview, they are not very organized. Their CV is not organized. Their certificates are not organized. Their clothes or dress sense is not well organized. So O stands for organized. And B of the job, the last word, business sense. See, maybe you are not very, very talented, the best one, but do you have a business sense? Well, that's very important, and that requires your reading about the current things happening in the business. Do you understand that if this will happen and what need to be done and all those things? So I can summarize, lab say job, and lab is your institute right now. Here you are in a lab and you are going through a transformational change. In any lab, changes do take place. So I just repeat, lab, L stands for learning, A for your attitude, B what you are bringing to the new system. Say, I have already mentioned to you that you should, I just forgot. Can you stay? And E for experience, what experience you are bringing, and job, jovial, organized, and business sense. So my summarization is, lab say job, and if you remember this, I am sure you would succeed and your future will be very productive and fruitful. Thank you very much. I thank all the panelists and also DSB for inviting me and all our colleagues on this occasion. Thank you very much.
So it has been a very enlightening discussion, and I'm sure the students had a lot to gain, because IT is the buzzword, with all data sciences being talked of since morning, and artificial intelligence and IoT being the buzzword everywhere you go. So probably this was one of the discussions that students must have been really looking forward to, and I'm sure they've gained a lot. So we are really grateful to the panelists for having spent their time and given their thoughts to enlighten our students. Now, to express our sincere gratitude to the panelists, I request Professor Ram Sen to come and extend our mementos to the panelists. Thank you.